Hi everyone, it's Joe here from Lawn Solutions Australia, and welcome to this episode of Turf Talk, where I'm joined by another international guest, Dr Ambika Chandra. Now, I've just tried repeating this to myself several times, but your official title, please, Ambika, and welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. My official title is Professor of Turfgrass Breeding at Texas A&M University.
Fantastic. There we go. That would have taken me 6 goes, so good job. So what does that entail? We're going to get into the details of it, but in a nutshell, what is your role and what is breeding turf at Texas A&M all about?
So my role mainly is to work with our industry, our turf industry, understand what the needs are in the turf industry, and try to come up with solutions through breeding and genetics.
Right.
And the way I do it, or in my program, is to work on developing new and improved varieties. So industry issues, some of the very urgent or important industry issues in Texas or United States, one of them is water.
Okay.
So, especially in South, where Texas is and where we are located, number one need and a challenge that my industry regularly communicates with me is that we need to be better in how we are using water in order to continue to stay relevant, because turf, it's not food, it's not fiber, it's not animal feed, it's not fuel. Right? So why do we invest, or why do we use freshwater resources to irrigate turf? And unlike here in Australia, most home lawns are equipped with underground irrigation system with controllers, irrigation controllers. And so a lot of it is that homeowners don't know how to set those controllers. And so whatever the home builder, when they finished installing the sod and putting that controller up, they set it up for whatever program it is, and a lot of homeowners stay with that program.
Yeah. So they're watering lots and lots.
Lots
forever.
and lots.
Yeah.
As you know, that when you lay the sod, you water more frequently, and then you wean it, and then you are once or twice a week. Yeah. But a lot of homeowners, so even then, it's set the controller and forget about it. And so a lot of times the grasses get watered more than what they actually need.
And then it comes back to grass as an environmentally unsustainable
and
product
unsustainable, right?
Yes.
So that's what it comes down. So it's not always, of course, there's a lot that we can do with developing new and improved turf grasses. There's a lot we can do about improving irrigation practices. There's technology that is being developed with smart irrigation technologies that can be incorporated with new and improved varieties to have better package, right? But ultimately, it's the adoption. What we are finding is that we can have 10, 15 years of research into developing new varieties and 10, 15 years of research developing new irrigation technology, but it takes a lot of education and time and patience in creating the awareness and education about these, and for consumers to actually adopt them.
Yes.
The way it needs to be adopted, so we actually see water savings, so we actually see cost savings.
There's 2 parts to this, isn't there?
It is.
Yeah,
it is not. Yeah, it's research and development, but then there is customer education and adoption.
When the second bit's probably harder than the first bit a lot of times, isn't it? Yeah,
absolutely.
Talking to someone who knows how to do the first bit
I went to
really
school
well.
to know how to do the first.
Yeah.
The second one is
someone else's job.
Yeah.
So we'll get back into that side of things a little bit later. But you're here in Australia. You've been here for a couple of days now.
Yeah.
So why don't you go over, for those that have listened to our podcast before, we did an episode on Lawn Solutions Australia's Research and Development Program. So you're obviously quite a big part of that. So do you want to give everyone a little bit of insight into what you're doing here, what you're looking at, as well as what you've done so far? You spoke at our conference and a couple other things. So why are you here in Australia?
So this relationship with Lawn Solution Australia and Texas A&M started, I would say, back in 2014, 2015, when the Turfgrass, a large group of members of LSA came visited the United States, and the Turfgrass group reached out to me saying that they have very important partners from Australia coming, and they wanted to see if I would be available to host LSA and Turfgrass group, and that was my first introduction.
Were you surprised at the type of people that walked through the door that day?
It was a large, like 60 plus members, and what was what stood out to me, everybody was so engaged, and they wanted to learn, and they were there to soak it all in. The information that I was, I provided a general overview of my program, and at that time I did not really know where this was going to lead us.
Yeah.
That was our first introduction.
I remember the day.
Were you there, Joe?
I was there.
You were how old were you?
I left a lasting impression, obviously. But I remember us walking away from that day and just being blown away with the depth, because we don't see anything like that in Australia. And the relationship developed from there. So what have we done just recently?
Yeah, so that from there to a couple of years ago, when Ken Morrow from Turfgrass Group and Gavin Rogers from LSA, they reached out about how they want and express their vision for bringing the best variety of buffalo grass into Australia.
Right.
Bottom line, that was the message to me.
Easy task. No?
Yeah, and so that's with that, I'm like, well, those are the kind of people you want to work with.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't just what do you got. The question to me wasn't what is in your pipeline or what you got that you can give us. No, the question was, we want the best variety for Australia. So, and that and Australia is a very different environment as I'm learning while I'm here. Yeah. I read about it while I was back home in America. I talked with Gavin. I talked with Ken. I've talked with multiple people, but the understanding that I've gained about the differences that we have in the climate and environment between U.S. and Australia wasn't until this past 1 week that I've been here.
Okay.
Right? And so I think this has been very important that I not only that I was part of the conference, but for me to interact with some of the growers and directly hear from them. What are the challenges?
Yes. And learning from that, and what we've noticed before is you can't just take American research and data directly and implement it into Australia.
If the viewers of this, if they were at the conference, you saw that there's years and years of data behind the material. So there was 18 lines of buffalo grasses that were sent to Australia 2 years ago, went through quarantine and finally made it to the Barrie headquarters facility. And all of those have been heavily tested. And I was out there today taking a look at those plots. There's all kinds of different kinds of stresses that, the disease pressure, the mowing, height of mowing is very different than what we use in the United States.
And that was funny for us. You guys keep your grass really long.
Especially buffalo grass.
Yeah.
We keep it pretty, what were we saying, 50? It's like
50 mils is minimum.
Minimum.
Yeah.
And here I understand it's like 25
is
minimum.
25 is minimum.
So that right itself, that, testing those grasses under the environment and management practices.
And what have you seen over the last few days? The data that we've got here and the stuff that you've got over there, there is some correlation there, isn't there?
Yes. And so, again, I'll say this as a plant breeder. The biggest dilemma that we go through is a G by E, genotype environment interaction, not to get too technical here. But yes, that is our dream or a big breeding goal, is to be able to find a variety that performs well across wide range of environments. And what we are seeing is, out of those 18, there are a lot. You have to, the reason I send them here is because they did well for me in Texas. Yeah. That's why I sent them here, right? But not all of them are doing well here, because we are seeing that interaction with the environment. But there are a few that are showing to be consistent. A couple of 1900 series lines that are doing well in Dallas, Texas. They've been doing well in Georgia, and as well as here. So, and at a couple of places here in Australia, I believe they're showing some promise.
They've been consistent. When we bring them into Australia, we don't just plant them in one location. Obviously, we try and get something that covers a wide range of climates. And Yeah, the consistencies are quite good, but there's obviously a lot of inconsistencies too, which is not a bad thing.
Which is not a bad thing, and that's why we are testing them here.
Yep.
Ideally, we would want that one variety.
Yep.
That would fit Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, the entire region, right? Where that's our goal, but we'll just have to see how this goes and what. Yeah.
So the significance of what Dr. Chandra and what people in her field do is we as an industry say we have a problem, and we have a problem with buffalo grass. We need one that uses less water, high shade tolerance, high wear tolerance. We then lean on institutions like Texas A&M to bring these grasses to Australia. We analyse them here. Eventually, if we find one, we'll bring it to market, and it could be the next Sawalda DNA certified, which has been a market leader for 20 years. So it's pretty interesting stuff that you do, and it can't be done without incredibly intelligent people like yourself doing the breeding work. So because you've got to such a level now, obviously you've worked your way up, and had a pretty interesting career. How did it all start, and how did you get into something, I'm going to say as niche or as niche as the Georgians and the Southern US people say it. How did you get into such a niche industry and area? And tell us a little bit about your journey so far.
So, as you know, I was born and brought up in India. And in India, every parent's dream is that their daughter will become a medical doctor,
right,
and their son will become an engineer.
Right.
That's and so I went on that path.
Yeah.
That became my parents' dream, became my dream.
Right. Pretty close. Turf doctor.
Yeah. So after grade school, after finishing 12th grade, there's a national exam that you have to pass. Not pass, you have to be in the top less than 1% to be able to get into a medical school.
Right.
And of course, I didn't make it. I stayed home the following year.
So you're still in India here?
I'm still in India. I didn't. I took a break 1 year, stayed home, studied, and took that test again, and still didn't make it.
Right.
At that point in time, I guess my parents were pretty, this is not a path.
My parents were happy I went to school, so don't worry.
So it was a bit disappointing at that time, but it was no regrets. At least I gave it a try a couple of times.
Sure,
right?
yeah.
And then my father was a soil scientist with the Indian Agriculture Research Institute. So I have always been around agriculture. Yeah. Not like I didn't grow up on a farm, but I've always been around my father and his colleagues talking about soils and agriculture. And so, okay, well, let's give agriculture a try. Let's go and, follow my dad's footsteps. Yeah. So did that, got my undergraduate degree in agriculture. And as I was finishing up, our fourth year is you have to pick an elective. You pick a field in agriculture you want to specialize in, or you want to further your studies in.
Yeah.
And I had always been interested in entomology, which is in studying insects.
Okay.
Yeah, I was good at it.
Yeah.
And again, at that point, my father was like, okay, that's a good field of science, but have you considered plant breeding and genetics? Because I think there's going to be a lot more career opportunities in this area.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So again, following my dad's advice, I went into doing a master's in plant breeding and genetics, and I absolutely loved it.
And where did you do that?
In India itself.
In northern India?
In Punjab.
Punjab.
Right. That's the state.
I know India by the cricket, the IPL franchise. So I know Punjab. Yeah.
Yes, from Punjab. So Punjab Agriculture University.
Yeah.
My master's was in a plant. It's a mustard family.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So I worked on it. I worked in a very good lab. I just absolutely loved it, and I knew at the time that I wanted to continue my education in plant breeding.
Yeah.
And genetics. And so I started looking for PhD opportunities in India as well as in the United States, applied for several schools, and I got an offer for a PhD from Penn State University in the United States to do it in turfgrass breeding and genetics.
Right.
And at that time, I was like, what the heck is turfgrass?
Okay. So it wasn't even on the radar?
No.
Right.
Turfgrass is not a crop or commodity that's at least when I was growing up.
Yeah, sure.
Wasn't a thing. Most of the research was on row crops, food crops,
Yes,
or cotton. So I had to Google at that time, what does turfgrass mean? But it didn't matter because the degree was in plant breeding and genetics. So that's how and 20 years ago, I came to United States for my PhD. I did my PhD for 4 years at Penn State, Penn State University. And then as I was finishing up my PhD, this position at Texas A&M opened up for the turfgrass breeder position. And I was like, it's about time that I get myself out there and start getting some experience interviewing for positions, and which is what I did. And to my surprise, I was offered the position.
Penn State would be totally cool season though, wouldn't it? Or did it matter?
That's a good one. Yeah. So Penn State is all cool season, but my project was on buffalo grass, not the one that's grown here, but buffalo grass that's native to the United States. So it was more of a lab and greenhouse research. So I was able to conduct it while at Penn State, but it was mostly on molecular biology. And really that was my first introduction to turfgrass, but my real introduction to turfgrass and turfgrass industry wasn't until I moved to Texas and became the turf breeder.
So what year was this? How long ago? How long have you been at Texas A&M now?
16 years now.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I moved to Texas A&M in 2007.
Right. So it's a big shift, one end of the country to the other, essentially.
Yes,
top to bottom.
And big shift, and from the cultural shift and language. And
Texas is a different place to everywhere else.
And then from Pennsylvania to Texas, maybe that was a bigger shift.
Yeah, I can imagine it's bigger to go from India to the US, I reckon, in the first place. And then, so you got there, and what was your task straight away? So you walk into Texas A&M, and they told you, we need you to do what? Yeah,
so as a faculty member at Texas A&M, you get to decide how you want to develop your program.
Oh, okay, right.
But the success of your program comes down to the impact you're making in the industry. So you're not encouraged to just go off and do something that's you're curious about. It has to have a meaning in the industry. So the very first thing is to get to know your industry. Get to know your sod growers, get to know how the system is set up. I mean, and Texas is big and very diverse. And so it took me some time, at least 2 or 3 years minimum, I would say, to get my head wrapped around what are the needs and the challenges, who are the key players, or who are the groups, associations, and things like that. And that's where, interacting with the sod growers and talking with them and understanding the challenges, where I very quickly realized that water is going to be huge for us. So a big part of our big initiative in our breeding program is to improve drought resistance in our turf grasses. And I primarily work on buffalo grasses and zoysias. So that's one of our big initiatives. And with zoysias, we have kind of expanded our zoysias are so versatile. You've seen it, from golf course putting greens all the way to home lawns and roughs, and even like utility turf, highway roadsides or roundabouts.
Yeah, because a lot of people in Australia don't understand why such a large percentage of research is dedicated to zoysia grass. It's because of the versatility of the genus, isn't it?
There's so much more genetic diversity in zoysia grass that a plant breeder can exploit to develop new and improved varieties. So I'll give you an example as a comparison. Zoysia grasses, we have 600 unique plants of zoysia grasses that were collected all over the world, Japan, Taiwan, Korea, Philippines, China, that we have in our collection. And that is our foundation for breeding work in zoysia. Compare that to buffalo grass, it's 30 to 40 plants.
Oh, is that how big the difference is?
Yes.
And Bermuda or couch grass would be probably pretty similar to buffalo, would it? Or?
But there is a lot more. It's somewhere in between.
Okay, somewhere in between.
Not as large collection, but like University of Georgia, Tifton campus, and Oklahoma State University, those two public schools, they have really good foundation for Bermuda grass breeding, and they have a good collection.
As a researcher, you'll see 600 and you'll just see endless possibilities, essentially.
Endless possibilities. There are 9 different species of zoysia in our collection. And so if we are targeting a golf course putting greens, we target those small dwarf species of zoysias. If we are targeting more like low input,
Yeah.
like for medians, and we would target different set of species like Mitrellas and Japonicas, and so that's the foundation for our zoysia grass breeding work. And with St. Augustine's, because we have such a limited germplasm pool with 30 to 40 lines, that's where we had to get creative. And that's why we started using the technology that I described in the seminar about the Embryo Rescue technology. We had these two sets of germplasm in buffalo grass, but we couldn't do anything. You couldn't combine them because of the sterility barriers. And so we had to come up with a way to do it. And so Embryo Rescue technology, a lot of hybrids that you all are evaluating here came from that technology.
So just break that down a little bit for everyone listening. What is the actual process you go through? Because I was lucky enough to hear about it this week and also see it this year, and it is mind-boggling how...
The process of breeding?
The process of doing it. Well, luckily, people like you are really, really clever, because I had a look at it and had absolutely no idea what was going on. But just break it down for everyone here and just say what this Embryo Rescue technology actually entails.
So a couple of things you will hear from a lot of plant breeders is that plant breeding is a long-term process, and it's a numbers game. Okay, it's not a lottery system. It's not like you're waiting to be lucky and find. But it's a numbers game, meaning that more of the hybrids we create, more hybrids we evaluate, better the chance we'll find the one that has the combination of traits we want. And so for just that, we make hundreds of crosses, depending on whatever our breeding objective is: drought, disease, frost tolerance, whatever it might be. We make hundreds of crosses, create thousands of new plants every single year.
Wow.
And those plants go through a cycle of selection over the next 10 years. And the idea is take that 1,000 down to that one.
When you say selection, you look at colour, you look at quality, you look at disease resistance.
Yes. So the very first step is in the next 2 to 3 years after we create those hybrids is to eliminate the ones that just don't make it.
Okay, yeah.
Because they had heavy disease pressure, they had winter injury, or turf quality doesn't look good.
Yeah.
Whatever the reason might be, a lot of those, over 95% of them, get discarded.
Yeah, and that's quick. Like you'll notice that in a season sort of thing.
Yes, like within 2 years.
Yeah.
2 years, I think that's. So, and after that, the ones that we select, then the difficult task comes.
Right.
Elimination is easier, in my opinion.
Sure, yeah.
Right? The selection phase, when you start saying, okay, now I want to select the ones that have good drought resistance and disease tolerance. This one has drought but doesn't have disease. That battle begins at that time, right? You just go back and forth. And sometimes the pipeline that you started this year may be it doesn't take you anywhere, dead end.
Yeah.
You couldn't select anything, and that's why it's an annual cycle. You don't stop.
And this is why this takes so long.
That's why it takes so long.
Yeah, like people don't realise this takes 10, 15 years to find a cultivar sometimes, doesn't it?
And one of the reasons is just because I can find a hybrid that is just absolutely spectacular in Dallas, Texas, but it may crash in Georgia.
Yeah, sure.
And multiple environments have to be tested, and that's why we are testing it here in Australia.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's why it takes so much time, because you're just not testing it for 1 year or one environment.
Yes.
You're testing it for multiple years and multiple environments, and you continue that cycle of selection until you find that one.
And the other spanner in the works when it comes to turf production is you could have the best looking grass no disease, and you run a turf harvester field and it doesn't roll up, or you spray with a common herbicide.
I've learned that the hard way.
It'd be a frustrating thing though.
Yes, and that is something, again, as a new turfgrass breeder, Texas A&M, you don't wait. I've learned this. You do not wait till you have that one to give it to the grower.
Okay.
Yes. You when I get it from that thousands down to, let's say, top 5. At that top 5, we have very good sod producers in Texas who are more than willing to help and collaborate.
Yep.
And they will take those 5 lines, and then they will put them on their fields, sod production fields, run their harvester, regrowth, tensile strength, all of that. And their feedback gets very much incorporated into the final decision-making process.
Yeah, right. So you don't go
No.
all the way to the end.
No, you don't do that. I've learned it the hard way. You don't go to that one because that one can crash in the production setting, and then you start all over again.
Yeah. So Texas A&M itself. So tell us a little bit about that, because a lot of people listening might know it from probably some of the college sport they watch or that sort of thing. But what's it like? Is it a big turf breeding institution when compared to others, is it?
So, Texas A&M in itself is a big institution. There are the main university, the campus is in College Station, but there are 11 other sister universities within Texas A&M University system.
Yeah.
And there are 13 research and extension centers that are spread out throughout the state, and one of them is in Dallas. That's where I'm located.
Yes.
So where I'm located, the focus is on research and extension. Most of the teaching happens in College Station.
Oh, okay.
It's a different campus.
Right.
And within Texas A&M system, we have the Department of Soil and Crop Sciences. We have very good, very strong plant breeding programs. And so plant breeding programs in cotton, wheat, sorghum, as well as turf grasses. And so we are part of that department and institution.
And how many products has your program directly released in the US now?
So I don't take the credit for all of it, but the program has been in existence since 1980.
Okay.
So 43 years in existence. And it was started with my predecessor, Dr. Milton Gilkey, and then me joining in 2007. And over the course of these 43 years, we have released about 23 new and improved varieties of turf grasses and different turf grasses. Cool and warm season.
And hopefully that'll be one more.
Hopefully that would be one more for
Australia.
Australia.
Pacific,
Absolutely. That absolutely has. After being here for this past week, I have this renewed energy and a desire and dream to have something that works really well for Australia.
That might mean more trips out here.
That's right. Why am I?
So what have you thought? You've never been here before, have you?
No, first time.
What was exactly as you thought it would be, and what hasn't been as you thought it would be?
It's been, first of all, what a nice break in weather for us. We have been going through a heat wave right now. It's just we're like 40 degrees and 20 days in a row, no rainfall. It's been miserable in Texas right now. But so beautiful, beautiful weather. What just strikes you as we were just flying into Brisbane is the ocean, the beaches. It's just breathtaking. Yeah. Absolutely. And the people have been, so LSA, everybody here has, it takes a lot to put together an itinerary for international guests. And Simon and the entire LSA team have just made it so easy and fun for us. We've been working, but it's been just fun.
Because you brought your family out here too.
I sure did. I brought my husband and my son, who turned 13th here in Australia. Yeah. And that's something real special that I think all of us will remember for a long time. So.
And all of our American guests that come out here say the people are friendly.
Yeah.
We say the same about you guys when we go to the South. Not so much the people up north. But the people in the South are friendly. But you found the Australian people
they're very nice, because as soon as you start speaking, they can tell you're not from here. So they go out of the way to help you.
Okay, have you picked up on the little bits of our language? So?
Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah, I think my husband and my son, they're much better than I do. I just butcher it. I won't even try it.
It's funny how, although we speak the same language, you can be in a room with me and 3 other people. You could have absolutely no idea what we're going on about half the time.
Oh, yeah. I was so embarrassed. I was talking, I won't name the person, but I was talking with somebody here, and they had such a thick Australian accent, and I was so embarrassed because I had to ask them 3 times, could you please repeat? And they were so nice. They didn't make fun of me. But
we get some funny stares when we try and order food when we're in Texas. They just look at you like, this guy's from another planet, another country. But
no, it's been amazing. It's been just an experience of our lifetimes.
I'm glad you enjoyed your time here, and we hope that you enjoy it so much that you will want to come back one time. And hopefully we've got a nice new grass that we're able to sell, and people listening to this might have it in their backyards one day.
That's the dream.
The work of your good self and the team behind you. But Thanks for coming across. Thanks for talking at our international
Yes.
conference the other day, and thanks for being on this podcast. It's been really interesting. What a story.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Yeah.